Well, let's do it. As we are supposed to get the net force on the charge at D, so it is negative charge, so first of all E2D attractive force, C2D, that will be also attractive force. Let these two forces are identified as F each. Okay, now negative to negative repulsion, let it be F1. Here positive to negative equidistant, it will be attractive, but magnitude will it be same? No, it will be F2. This negative to negative will be repulsive, it will be again F1, because the distance from B to D and distance from F to D must be same, and magnitudes are also same. That's why F1, if this force, this minus Q exerts F1 on this minus Q, this minus Q will also exert F1 on this minus Q. So now see, geometrically, if this is A, this is A, this is 120, obviously if I drop a perpendicular here, it will bisect this and each angle will be 60 degree then. That means to know this distance from B to D, what I can do, this is A, this much is 60 degree, right? So I can write down this much is how much? A sine 60, isn't it? It from this point to that point, are you getting me? This point to this point, it is A sine 60. A sine 60 means root 3 by 2 of A. So that in this much is also same. So expression of F1 will be K into Q square by square of 2 into root 3 by 2 of A whole square, right? Whereas for F2, magnitude of F2 will be K into Q square by this distance will be definitely 2A. So this will be 4A square, and F is simply K Q square by A square. So that means all these terms can be simplified in term of F. F2 can be written F by 4, and here it will be K Q square by 3A square, means this is equal to F by 3. So F1 becomes F by 3, F2 becomes F by 4. Now at D we are having, these are the two reference lines for example, out of which the force on D by C, this is 1F appearing along y-axis, F1, this is this F1 which is the force by F on D, repulsive F1. So F1 is F by 3. Is that clear? Now we know that if this is the reference line as horizontal or x-axis, then these two angles are 30 each. So here this F will be making 30 degree like this. This is another F which is the force on D by E. Now the two forces to be decided, one is by A on D and another one is by B on D, both are F1. So one of the F1 I have written, one F1, another one will be F2. Okay, so another F1, see that another F1 suggests that if this is 30, then this angle is also 30. So here it will be another F1 at 30 degree. This F1 which is basically F by 3, and now finally it is the F2. F2, see, if this angle is 30, this is 30, this is 30, right? So this will be the direction of F2, this will be the direction of F2 which is F by 4. Could you follow what I mean? See again, once again, this was 30. So this angle, this line, this was 30, right? So 30 and these two lines are opposite, so overall this angle should be 180. So out of which this much is 90, this is 30, this is 30. So 90 plus 60, 150. So this remains 30. That's why I said this is 30. So these are the total presentation of 5 forces based on the reference line, horizontal and vertical, something like X and Y. So now we can bring them along X direction. So total Fx forces can be written as something like F by 3, which is already there. Now I can resolve this F by 3 based on 30 degree. So here it will be F by 3 sine 60. Sine 60 can be written root 3 by 2. It's F by 3 sine 30 will be there. So into half. So that means I have resolved this one along X. Now negative X direction, this F minus F cos 30, cos 30 is root 3 by 2, and minus F by 4 cos 30, F by 4 cos 30 root 3 by 2. These are the total Fx, that is X component forces. And for Y component forces, we are having one force plus F, another one will be the cos component of this, which is minus F by 3 cos 30, and this one F sin 60 minus F sin 60. Are you getting this, the same answer? Are you getting the same value of resolved components? So these are the total forces appearing along X and Y, provided FD line is referred as X-axis line and CD line is referred as Y-axis line. Could you follow this? So now after simplifying this, we can finally write down F will be root under of Fx square plus Fy square. Yeah, start it again. Cancel and then start it again. So this is the way we can find the force on one of the charged particle due to the other charged particle appearing in that geometry. Now for zero electric field, so before going to making the argument for zero electric field, we must discuss that how electric field is different than electric force. See, as we discussed about the electrostatic force between two point charged particles separated by a distance r, if the positions are identified by A and B, then if we discuss force, if we discuss the force on small q equals to 1, if it is taken unit charge 1 coulomb charge at B, then it will be known as the electric field strength. It will be known as the electric field strength of charge capital Q at a distance r from it. As the position of this small q, that is at B, is r distant from the charge capital Q. So if we take the capital Q be the fixed charge, if we take this is the fixed charge and small q as the test charge, then whenever the test charge is unit, when the value of the test charge is unit 1 coulomb, and we discuss the force on 1 coulomb charge instead of discussing it on small q charge of any other magnitude, then that force will be defined as the electric field at that test charge position. So that means electric field is mathematically nothing but other than the electrostatic force per unit test charge. Electric field is nothing but other than the electrostatic force per unit test charge. So that is the reason why the method of calculating electric field due to a fixed point charge will again be the same as we do it for finding electrostatic force. The only difference is that when we discuss the force on any particular magnitude of test charge, then it is discussed as under the title of electrostatic force, but whenever that force will be discussed on specifically on a unit positive charge, then it will be the electric field strength at that test charge position due to the fixed charge which is at a certain distance, at a finite distance from it. So similarly, if we want to write down the electric field, here if we want to write down the electric field at B due to the charge capital Q at A, then it will be equal to, it will be given by E, and that will be 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught capital Q by R square only. Okay, that means you can write down this is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught capital Q into small q by R square, okay, into 1 by small q. So if you cancel small q, you remains to the primary equation provided when we are discussing it on a +1 test charge. So that means this is nothing but other than the force at B due to A divided by charge at B. Got my point? So calculation of electric field will be as same as that of the calculation of the electric force. The only difference is that while evaluating or while using the term of electric field, we must be careful about the use of the magnitude of the test charge particle. That has to be specifically unit 1 coulomb charge, right? So this is the difference between the electrostatic force and electric field. So now if I want to say for one pair of point charges, for example there are 2 point charges Q1 and Q2. There are 2 point charges Q1 and Q2 separated by a distance r if they are placed at A and B. Okay, and we want to know that find the position where a third charge particle is placed, a third charge particle is placed so that force on it is 0. If this is a question saying that find the position where a third charge particle is placed so that the force is 0, that means we need to know the zero electric field position. We need to know the zero electric field position due to these two given charges. If we can find zero electric field position, due to these two given charges, then only we can allow a third charge particle to be placed at that point so that it can experience zero force, because we know that from this relation, if electric field is force by test charge, so that means force can be written Q into E. Electrostatic force on a test charge can always be written as the electric field value at that point, that into test charge placed at that position. So therefore, if you want to select a third position other than A and B, and if we want to place any third charge particle, but whatever be the magnitude of the third charge particle placed, but if it experiences zero force, that only suggests that it can be the zero field position due to these two given charges. So being both are positive charges, both are given charges are positive in nature though different in magnitude. So zero electric field can be somewhere on their line joining only. Let if one position is x from P, the other given charge must be r minus x from it, because given charges are r distant apart. If the given charges are r distant apart, then obviously that third position where we can allow the placement of a third charge particle so that it experiences zero force, means that third position must be the zero electric field position due to the first two given charges. Got my point? So electric field at P to be 0 means vector sum of electric field due to the charge at A plus electric field at P due to the charge at B, that must be 0. So electric field at P due to A must be equal to minus of electric field at P due to B. This should be the vectorial significance. Okay, means magnitudically EPA should be equal to the magnitude of minus EPB. That means we know that whenever we are supposed to calculate the electric field, that point should be should have zero unit charge, unit plus 1 charge. So let there be a plus 1 test charge at the point P. So due to Q1, it will be K into Q1 by x square, and for another Q2 it will be K into Q2 by r minus x whole square. Got my point? So from this part we can write down, that is Q1 by Q2 is equal to x by r minus x whole square. Is it clear? So solving the value of, I have tried it with the general term. Okay, so based on the numerical value of Q1 and Q2 you can simplify this. So using this mathematical relation we can get the value of we can get the value of x. So that means x, knowing x will confirm us the position of the point P where we can place any third charge particle, because we are looking for the zero electric field position. So whatever be the zero, wherever the zero field position is found, if you place any test charge magnitude, so net force on it will be zero. So that's why the third charge particle should be placed always at the zero electric field due to given charges, so that it is supposed to be experiencing zero force. Okay, so that zero electric field position, now there are two possibility. If these given charges are positive, as I have taken Q1 and Q2, so zero field position will always be somewhere in between their line joining. This will be the zero field position. Got my point? When both are positive or both are negative. If Q1 being negative and Q2 is also negative, then also the zero field position will be zero field position due to them will be along their line joining in between them. And what the exact position, for that we have to calculate that position, that is we have to confirm that distance by following this process. But basic understanding says that if both given charges are same in nature, either both are positive or both are negative, then that zero field position must be at a point along their line joining. This is the situation when the given charges are similar in nature. What happens when these given charges are opposite in nature? When these given charges will be opposite in nature, for example, Q1 is positive but given Q2 is negative, then zero electric field position can never appear in between them along their line joining. Then zero electric field position should always be along the line joining but away from them. So zero electric field position can be either at P1 or at P2. Okay, now we can write down, now Q1 and Q2 are opposite in nature. Q1 and Q2 are opposite in nature, therefore zero electric field position can be either P1 or P2. But confirmly, we obviously 2 points cannot be 0 at one particular case. It can be either P1 be the 0 in one case or it will be P2 be the 0 position. So now when they are opposite in nature, then based on the magnitude of Q1 and Q2, based on the magnitude of Q1 and Q2, whoever is smaller in magnitude, zero electric field will be closer to it. Zero field position will be will be closer to it. Got my point? Zero field position will be closer to the charged particle which is smaller in magnitude. If the magnitude of q1 is less than the magnitude of q2, numerical value of q2, then p1 will be the possible answer of zero electric field position, or otherwise if the negative charge q2 is smaller in magnitude, in that case p2 will be that position of zero electric field position. So we must be clear about this concept. Whenever you are asked to know the zero electric field position or the position where a third charge is placed but does not experience any force, in presence of two given charges at a given distance of separation, then that zero field position or the no force experienced position by the third charge should always be along their line joining. If both are identical, I mean like same in nature, though they can be different in magnitude, but if nature wise they are same, either both are positive or both are negative, then that position should be always along their line joining in between them. But if they are different in magnitude as well as different in nature, then that zero electric field position definitely be always along the line joining, but not in between them, rather on the exterior portion of their line joining. And that position will be confirmed by knowing the magnitude of the positive and negative charge. Whoever will be smaller in magnitude, the zero field position will be on that side, so that zero electric field position becomes closer to it. You can make this argument by using this mechanism only. Got it?
Yes.
Okay.
Sir,
Yeah.
for a system of 2 points,
Hmm.
there cannot be more than one zero electric field point.
No. For a system of 2 point charge, there cannot be more than one zero field position.
Sir, what if we increase the number of charges in the system?
See, for any number of charged particles, like in the previous arrangements, we tried it for a triangular geometry, tried it for a square geometry or hexagon. For any n number of charged particles given, the total vectorial sum of all those given charges can only be zero at one specific point only. It is not only the concept only for two given charges, even for n number of given charges, the zero electric field position will be one absolute location only. Got my point? Because the zero field position suggests that the vector sum of all the forces has to be zero, and that point should be definitely on the same plane as that of the plane of the charge, plane containing that charge, all those charge particle, right? And the vector sum of all of them can be zero at one point only, due to all given charges of given magnitude and at fixed positions. Got my point?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir. We're done.
Okay, fine. I'm cleaning the board. How much time left in this meeting?
Sir,
How much time left is in this meeting? How long it is left?
sir, 15 minutes. It's already 25 minutes.
Okay, let it be completing this next part. Okay. Now I'll discuss the maximum electric field.
So can we start another meeting afterwards?
No, not afterwards today. Again, we'll go for tomorrow again 2 consecutive meeting. Okay. Okay. Because I do have another class after this. Maximum electric field due to a pair of identical point charges. Okay, due to a pair of identical point charges, what will be the maximum electric field and where it is? So see, if this is Q, this is Q, they are separated by a distance r, for example, it will be always along the perpendicular bisector. Fine, it will be always along the perpendicular bisector. So this is r by 2, this is r by 2. Let there be a point x at a distance p from this line joining A and B from the position of two given identical charges. So to find the electric field, so I have discussed that electric field is nothing but other than the force on a assumed +1 charge at the required point wherever you are finding electric field. So I have placed a +1 charge at a point on the perpendicular bisector. I do not know what exact that position will be, so I have assumed an unknown term x to locate that position. So let that point known to be P. So repulsive force by Q on +1 is this way, and repulsive force by another Q on the +1 is this way. So I can assume these are the two forces on +1 charge at P. So let them be identified as E each. Geometrically, if I take these two angles are theta each, then obviously these angles are also theta, right? So that means at one point P, if this point is taken to be P, so we are experiencing two equal repulsive force on +1 charge expressed by E each. Geometrically this is theta, this is theta. So being these two are diverging forces, the resultant value of them can be obtained by resolving these two forces. So these two will be getting cancelled out. So ultimately this direction it will be 2E cos theta. So net force on +1 charge at P, therefore net force on +1 charge at P, right, that can be written 2E cos theta, where it can be simplified as E can be written K into Q by R square by 4 plus X square, that into cos theta. E can be written due to this separation. This is the separation between capital Q and +1 charge, right? So this is r by 2, this is x. We can use Pythagoras. So this square of this distance will be this square plus this square, that into cos theta. So further simplifying it, 2kq by r square by 4 plus x square into cos theta. Cos theta from the geometry can further be written as x by this from this right angle triangle, for theta this is base, this is hypotenuse, right? So cos theta will be x by this, so I can write down it is x by root under of r square by 4 plus x square. Clear? So finally net force on plus 1 charge at P can be simplified like this: 2kq into x divided by r square by 4 plus x square power 3 by 2. Now this expression includes the variable term x both in numerator as well as in denominator. So without knowing that particular value of x for which the expression can be maximum, we can use the maxima minima theorem from calculus to apply to know the position of x for which this electric field expression at P can be maximum. So to get EP max, differentiate with respect to x. So if we need to differentiate it with respect to x, so therefore dEP by dx, we can keep the constant term as it is and rest part is the variable. So numerator by denominator differentiation u by v, which can be done v into u, differentiation of u is 1, that is x differentiation with respect to x is 1, minus u into differentiation of denominator, so that 3 by 2 into r square by 4 plus x square to the power half, that into 2x, chain rule, whole divided by v square, means r square by 4 plus x square to the power, whole square of this means it remains to the power 3. So this is the derivative we find differentiating the electric field expression at P with respect to its variable x. So to get maximum value, this first derivative must be 0, because we know that to get maxima or minima, the first derivative of the function must be 0. So when we equate this derivative term to 0, that means definitely numerator part can only be 0. So to get the 0 factor from numerator, only this part, from this part only we can get the 0 possibility, because 2kq can't be 0, that is definitely the non-zero term. So from this part, if we take r square by 4 plus x square to the power half as common, r square by 4 plus x square to the power half, that is the least power, that is common, then we get 1 minus, because that 3 by 2 is there, so r square by 4 plus x square from the first part, from this part, and in this part we can write down minus 3x square, that is 0. So this is the term that can make the expression 0, out of which the first part, which is r square plus by 4 plus x square, which is the sum of two square term, can never be 0. Sum of two square term of real numbers can never be 0. So obviously it is the second part can be 0. That means r square by 4 minus 2x square can be 0. Got my point? So from this part we can write down x can be plus minus r square, x square can be plus minus r square by 8. So x can be written as plus minus x can be written as plus minus r by 2 root 2. Got it? So the exact position on the perpendicular bisector line of two given identical point charges, the zero field position is possible at a distance which is r by 2 root 2, where r is the separation between two given charges. So plus minus means that point can be this way or below. Okay, on either side equidistant position r by 2 root 2 is possible. So this is the way we can find the position where we can experience maximum electric field due to pair of identical point charges. Could you follow this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is the expression, and you may ask that why it is maximum, why not minimum? Because minimum electric field can be zero, and that is definitely this position where the force due to two identical charge particle on a plus one will be cancelled out, because electric field 0 means it can't be negative being it is a vector quantity its least magnitude must be 0 only. Okay, so that's why this is the maximum electric field. So we got the minimum and maximum electric field arguments for one pair of identical charges, and apart from that we have discussed the null point, that is the zero field position due to given charges. Okay, so many more points are there in this chapter, and as I said that this chapter will be very similar to the gravitation. Okay.